My dear friends, they will never admit it to your face, but narcissists are always measuring you. Every move you make, every word you speak, every success you achieve, it's all processed through their private scoreboard. What they secretly think is not just about who you are, but about what you represent to them. If you shine too brightly, they feel threatened. If you struggle, they feel superior. In their mind, you are never just a person. You are a mirror, reflecting their insecurities or inflating their ego. And here's the twist. No matter what you do, they're always calculating how they can twist it to benefit themselves. What they won't say out loud is that they notice your strengths far more than you realize. They see your resilience, your kindness, your talent, and it bothers them because deep down they know they can't genuinely match those qualities. They survive on illusions and control, so when you possess real confidence or authenticity, it destabilizes their game. They might belittle you in public, but in private, they're thinking, I wish I had that. This hidden admiration is twisted into envy, and envy into sabotage. They will secretly test you again and again to see if you will break. They think about how far they can push you before you snap. Every silent treatment, every passive-aggressive jab, every backhanded compliment is a calculated move to gauge your tolerance. In their mind, your breaking point is the ultimate prize. If they can make you lose your composure, they feel powerful. But if you stand firm, you become a puzzle they can't solve, and that terrifies them more than they will ever admit. A narcissist secretly fears that one day you will wake up and see through them, that you will stop feeding their ego, stop reacting to their games, and stop caring about their approval. In their private thoughts, this is their worst nightmare, losing the control they have over your emotions. Because without your attention, without your energy, their world feels empty. That's why they try to keep you hooked with sudden bursts of affection, just enough to pull you back in. They think about your loyalty constantly because it's one of the most valuable things you offer. They know you're the type to stand by someone's side through hard times, and they want to exploit that. In their mind, loyalty is not mutual. It's a resource to be extracted. They assume you'll keep giving, even when they give nothing in return. And if you finally take that loyalty back, they will feel an anger they can't control because they thought they owned it. They are obsessed with the idea of superiority. Every time you succeed, they secretly compare it to their own life. And if they can't beat you in reality, they'll try to beat you in perception. In their thoughts, image is everything. So they will downplay your wins, exaggerate their own, and sometimes even take credit for your achievements. What they can't stand is the idea that you might actually be happier than them without playing their games. In moments of silence, when no one is watching, they replay interactions with you like a chess match. They think about the times they won an argument, the times you doubted yourself, the moments they made you feel small. These memories are trophies to them. But they also think about the times you stood your ground, and those moments stay with them too, haunting them in ways they won't admit. It's proof that they can't fully dominate you. They secretly admire your independence, but see it as a threat. In their mind, if you can live without them, you have power they can't touch. That's why they will often try to make you feel needy or dependent. If they can convince you that you need them, they regain control. But when you prove that you can stand alone, they are reminded of a truth they don't want to face. You are stronger than they are. They think about how much you trust them, and it's a weapon they use carefully. They might act like they value your trust, but in reality, they see it as an opportunity for manipulation. Trust to them is not sacred, it's leverage. They want you to share your vulnerabilities, not so they can protect them, but so they can store them for later use. They secretly keep mental notes of your fears, your weaknesses, and your past mistakes. Deep down, they believe they understand you better than you understand yourself. This belief fuels their arrogance. They think they can predict your every reaction and that you'll keep playing your part in their script. But when you act unexpectedly, when you grow, evolve, and refuse to be predictable, they are thrown off balance. It makes them question their control, and questioning their control is something they hate. They constantly think about how others see you in comparison to them. In their mind, life is a stage, and they must always have the spotlight. If you start drawing attention, they will feel a creeping panic. This is when they might start gossiping about you or subtly discrediting you to others. It's not just about their image, it's about making sure your light never outshines theirs. They secretly monitor your emotions more than you realize. Every sigh, every pause, every change in tone, they are reading it. They think about how they can push your buttons just enough to get a reaction. To them, emotions are a map to your soul, and if they can navigate it, they believe they can control you. But what they don't expect is when you stop reacting altogether. That's when they start to lose their grip. They think about what you mean to their story, not yours. In their mind, people are characters in their personal drama, and you are no exception. They assign you a role, whether it's the admirer, the competitor, or the supporter, and they expect you to play it. But when you step out of the role they've given you, you disrupt their entire narrative, and that's something they deeply resent. They secretly fear that you are smarter than they are. Not in a book-smart way, but in a way that sees through illusions. They fear your ability to connect dots, to read between the lines, to pick up on patterns. Because once you see the truth about them, you can't unsee it. And when that happens, their entire mask begins to crack. And here's the part they'll never say. Sometimes, late at night, they wonder if you were the best thing that ever happened to them. They think about how you cared, how you forgave, how you tried. But instead of cherishing it, they twisted it. They know they can't get that same kind of genuine love from someone else, and it terrifies them. Because deep down, they know they didn't deserve you. They think about your reactions long after a conversation ends. Even if they pretend to forget, they replay your words in their mind, dissecting every detail. They try to figure out if you bought into their lies, if you felt the guilt they wanted you to feel, or if you stood firm. This constant mental analysis isn't about understanding you, it's about controlling you. And when you respond with calm certainty instead of emotional chaos, they secretly panic. A narcissist's private thoughts are full of comparisons. They measure their life against yours in secret. If you seem more at peace, more fulfilled, or more respected, it quietly eats at them. They'll never congratulate you openly, but in their mind, they will start plotting how to tilt the scales back in their favor. Whether it's by undermining your relationships or distracting you with drama, they can't stand the thought of you quietly winning. They think about your forgiveness like it's a bank account. Every time you forgive them, they mentally note that they can push the boundary a little further next time. Forgiveness, in their eyes, isn't a chance to rebuild trust. It's proof they can get away with more. But what they don't prepare for is the moment your forgiveness runs out and you shut the account for good. They secretly keep score in ways you'd never imagine. Every compliment you give them, every sacrifice you make, every time you put them first, it all becomes part of an invisible tally they believe you owe them for. In their mind, relationships are transactions. And when you stop paying into their emotional bank, they feel robbed, even if they never truly invested in you. When they see you happy without their involvement, it stirs something dark inside them. They think about how they can insert themselves back into your joy, not to share it, but to take credit for it or to ruin it. Your independence is not inspiring to them. It's a reminder that they are not the center of your world. And that truth is something they will try to rewrite at any cost. They think about your confidence as if it's a threat to their existence. Narcissists survive by making others feel unsure. So when you walk into a room with self-assurance, they see danger. They start planning subtle ways to chip away at it. A sarcastic comment here, a dismissive gesture there, anything to make you doubt yourself. Because a confident you is a version they can't control. When they watch you grow, whether it's emotionally, financially, or spiritually, it triggers a mix of fear and envy. They think about how this growth will make it harder to manipulate you. They know that self-awareness is their greatest enemy, so they'll try to convince you that you're not changing for the better or that you're abandoning them. In truth, they're afraid you'll outgrow them completely. They secretly study the people closest to you, friends, family, coworkers. They think about how these people influence you and whether they can sway them to their side. If someone supports your independence, they'll view them as a threat. In their mind, your relationships are pieces on a chessboard, and they will try to remove or weaken any piece that protects you. They think about your weaknesses with unsettling precision. Every fear you've ever shared, every insecurity you've ever admitted, they store these like weapons in an arsenal. They may not use them right away, but they're always thinking about the perfect moment to strike. It's not random cruelty, it's strategic emotional warfare designed to break your defenses. A narcissist's private thoughts are full of fantasies about winning arguments, winning influence, winning control. They think about scenarios where you come crawling back, where you regret leaving, where you admit they were right. These mental victories feed their ego, even if they never happen in real life. And the more they live in these fantasies, the more disconnected they become from reality. They think about how they appear in your mind. It's ironic. While they want you to admire them, they also want you to fear disappointing them. They craft an image they believe you can't resist, charming, confident, untouchable. But deep inside, they fear you see through that image, and that fear keeps them working overtime to keep the mask from slipping. When they notice you becoming emotionally distant, it alarms them more than they'll admit. They think about how to pull you back in, not with apologies, but with calculated gestures. A sudden kindness, a compliment, a memory from better days. It's all part of their strategy to reignite your attachment. Because they know if you emotionally detach, their power fades. They secretly believe they own the version of you that existed when you first met. In their mind, your growth or change is betrayal. They think, you weren't like this before I came along, as if your evolution is a personal attack. This mindset is why they resist your independence. They want to freeze you in the role that served them best. They think about your boundaries like challenges, not limits. If you set a line they can't cross, they see it as an obstacle to overcome. They strategize ways to make you move it, to test if you're serious. The more you hold the line, the more frustrated they become, because it means they can't mold you as easily as they hoped. And perhaps the most shocking thought they have is this: they wonder if they underestimated you. In rare moments of honesty with themselves, they think about how you've survived everything they've thrown at you. They think about how you've grown stronger, not weaker. And that realization that they may have created the very strength they wanted to destroy haunts them in ways they will never say. They think about how much of your life they've been able to shape without you even realizing it. In their mind, every time you second-guess yourself, every time you hesitate because of something they once said, it's proof that their influence lingers. They see this as their silent victory, control that exists even when they're not around. What they don't account for is the day you recognize those mental fingerprints and start erasing them one by one. They secretly study your ambitions. Your dreams fascinate them, not because they want to support them, but because they want to see how those dreams can be redirected, slowed, or subtly sabotaged. They think about ways to make you doubt your abilities, to convince you that your goals are unrealistic. They fear your success because it threatens the narrative they've built, where they are the central figure in your story. They think about your resilience with both frustration and awe. Every time you rise after they've tried to bring you down, it's a blow to their ego. They can't admit it, but your ability to recover forces them to rethink their approach. In their private thoughts, they may even wonder if you have an inner strength they'll never be able to touch, a truth that gnaws at them quietly. When you speak with conviction, they remember it. They think about moments when you've stood your ground and refused to bend. In their mind, these are dangerous moments because they reveal that you're not fully under their control. They'll try to downplay or mock these instances, but deep inside, they store them as reminders that you are not as pliable as they hoped. They secretly wonder what it would take to break you completely, not physically, but emotionally, to the point where you'd rely on them for every sense of worth. They think about the strategies they've used on others, wondering if they could work on you. And when they realize those tactics fail, it doesn't lead to respect, it leads to frustration and an even stronger desire to win. They think about the times you've shown them genuine kindness. It unsettles them more than cruelty would, because deep down they know they can't match that purity. True kindness exposes the hollowness of their own affection. In their mind, this makes you both valuable and dangerous. Valuable because you have something rare, dangerous because it highlights their emptiness. They monitor how others respond to you. If people admire you, trust you, or follow your lead, it sparks jealousy they'll never admit. They think about ways to redirect that admiration toward themselves. In their private thoughts, popularity is not about connection, it's about power. And any power you hold is power they want to take. They think about how you react when they disappear. Narcissists often pull away to test your dependence. If you chase them, they feel reassured of their control. If you stay calm and carry on, it shakes them. They'll think about that reaction for days, wondering if they've lost their grip. Your indifference is a wound to their ego they can't easily heal. They secretly watch for signs that you're moving on, whether from a relationship, a friendship, or their influence altogether. They think about ways to pull you back before you're too far gone. This might come in the form of sudden charm, unexpected messages, or pretending to change, but in their mind, it's never about genuine transformation. It's about reclaiming the attention they've lost. They think about how much of your story they've been able to rewrite. Narcissists thrive on revisionist history, where their wrongdoings are minimized and your faults are exaggerated. They take quiet pride in convincing you of a false version of events. But when you start keeping your own mental record of the truth, their power begins to unravel. They secretly wonder if you talk about them to others. The thought bothers them, not because they care about the truth, but because they can't control the narrative. They think about ways to preemptively discredit you, planting seeds of doubt in others so that if your story ever comes out, it's easier for people to question it. They think about your boundaries as puzzles. If you tell them they can't do something, they'll think about loopholes or indirect ways to achieve it. In their mind, Rules exist to be bent, and boundaries are merely suggestions. But the more you enforce them without negotiation, the more they start to realize you're not playing their game. They think about how they first hooked you. Whether it was charm, flattery, or shared vulnerabilities, they remember those early days well. They believe they can recreate that magic whenever they want, pulling you back into the same emotional loop. What they don't realize is that once you've seen the pattern, the illusion loses its power. They secretly think about whether they've taught you too much. Narcissists often reveal more about manipulation through their actions than they intend. If you've been paying attention, you've learned how they operate, how they twist words, how they deflect blame, how they seek control. In their mind, this knowledge makes you both dangerous and unpredictable. And in their rarest moments of truth, they think about losing you entirely. Not just physically, but emotionally. Losing the version of you that cared, that forgave, that invested in them. They know deep down that once that part of you is gone, no performance, no charm, no manipulation will bring it back. And that loss, more than anything else, is what they truly fear. They think about the possibility of you exposing them, not just to friends or family, but to anyone who matters in their world. The idea of people seeing behind their mask is terrifying. They imagine the conversations that could unfold without their presence, the truths that could come out, and it fuels a quiet paranoia. This is why they work so hard to control the narrative before you ever get the chance to speak. They secretly calculate how much you've changed since knowing them. Sometimes they feel proud, thinking they shaped you. Other times they feel threatened, realizing you've evolved in ways they didn't anticipate. When they see you adopting strength, independence, and boundaries, they think about whether their influence is slipping for good, and that thought keeps them restless. They think about how they've conditioned your responses over time. A raised eyebrow, a certain tone, a subtle gesture. They notice when these triggers still affect you. If you react the way they expect, it reassures them that their conditioning still works. But when you break the pattern, it unsettles them deeply, forcing them to question their control. They think about whether you still seek their approval. In their mind, as long as you care about what they think, they have leverage. They watch for signs, asking your opinion, hesitating before a decision, looking for validation. If those moments disappear, it's a signal that their approval no longer defines your choices, and that's a loss they quietly fear. They secretly wonder if someone else will give you the love and respect they never did. This thought isn't born out of care. It's born out of jealousy. They imagine you being truly happy with someone else, and it stings their ego more than any breakup or argument could. In their mind, they believe they should be the center of your world, even if they don't treat you well. They think about the power of your silence. When you stop explaining yourself, stop defending yourself, stop trying to change their perception, it changes the entire dynamic. They notice when you no longer react to their bait, and it forces them to face a version of you they can't manipulate. In their private thoughts, your silence is both confusing and threatening. They think about the possibility that you no longer need them at all. This isn't just about financial independence or emotional resilience. It's about knowing your worth. If they sense you've reached a point where their absence doesn't create emptiness, it shakes the core of their identity. They thrive on being essential, and when they're not, they feel invisible. They secretly replay your moments of strength, like a thief studying a locked safe. They want to know what makes you so unshakable in certain situations. They think about how to find the cracks in that armor. But what they often fail to realize is that each attempt to break you only makes your defenses stronger. They think about how much energy you've given them over time. Narcissists see attention as currency, and they measure every ounce you've spent on them, whether through love, anger, or effort. They take pride in knowing they've been able to claim so much of your emotional space. But they also know deep down that if you ever redirect that energy inward, you'll become unstoppable. They think about your capacity for forgiveness as a double-edged sword. On one side, it has kept you connected to them longer than you should have been. On the other, it gives you the ability to heal and move forward without carrying their poison. They fear the moment you decide to forgive them, not to reconcile, but to release them from your life entirely. They secretly imagine scenarios where you return to them, admitting they were right. These fantasies play like a private movie in their mind, feeding their ego. But beneath that daydream lies a buried truth they won't acknowledge, that deep down, they know the version of you that would return no longer exists. They think about the image they've created of you in their mind and how it no longer matches reality. The more you grow, the harder it is for them to fit you back into the box they built for you. This mismatch creates tension they can't resolve, and it often pushes them toward desperate or erratic behavior. They think about whether they should have treated you differently. In their most honest moments, rare and fleeting, they wonder if they went too far. But instead of using that realization to change, they often bury it under more ego, more deflection, more blame. The thought of taking responsibility feels too much like defeat. They secretly know they can't replace you. They may try, seeking someone else to fill the role you once played, but they quickly learn that no one else brings the same loyalty, understanding, or resilience. This awareness doesn't lead to gratitude. It leads to resentment that they couldn't hold on to what they never truly valued. And finally, they think about how your strength has changed the game forever. You're no longer the same person they met. You've grown, seen behind the mask, and reclaimed your power. They may never say it, but deep inside, they know they can't win against the version of you that refuses to play their game. That realization is the one thought they can't escape.